before the break, we were talking about Mohammed Singh's visit to here in Washington with President Obama. And here with me for much more on this is Sabina Dewan. She's a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress, and she joins me here to talk about the economy and India. And let me start with the hard stuff first here, because a lot of people are asking, what is wrong with the economy in India?
Well, thank you for having me on the show, Philip. There are a lot of things that are slowing down in India right now. We've seen economic growth in the last quarter was only 4.4%. We've got high inflation. We've got a huge current account deficit. And what bothers me the most is that India is really facing the phenomenon of jobless growth. That is economic growth, but not creating enough jobs in the economy.
It's a BRIC country, China, Brazil, you name off all these countries around the world that were developing, and they've made great progress over the past 10 years. And I'm not saying India hasn't made great progress, but it just seems that it's been a disappointment to a lot of people who are expecting so much more.
Right. Well, the Indian economy has been growing quite a bit, but as I mentioned, one of the issues that is a real problem is that the economy is just not creating enough jobs. Between 2000 and 2005, the economy created 60 million jobs. Between 2005 and 2010, it only created 2 million.
Who's to blame?
Well, I think that, we definitely need more investment. I think the government is trying to do a lot in terms of putting money into skills training for young people, but it's a huge decentralized country with a lot of diversity, and that's hard to govern. We have to look at corruption.
Can I help translate that for you?
Yes.
So you say there's a lot of diversity. It's a democracy, obviously, which some critics would say that means a lot of red tape. And there's corruption that hasn't been outed. There's red tape that businesses complain about that daily. Every business leader that I've spoke with talks about the same problems in India, yet year after year, it's still not resolved. Why aren't the politicians getting the message that if they want to be a first-rate economy, that they've got to at least begin to resolve that problem?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, India has a lot of problems with bureaucracy and red tape, with corruption, no doubt. But the government has taken steps to address these issues. That's not to say we don't have a long way to go. But the corruption isn't just a matter of the government, right? It's also a matter of citizens taking responsibility. Only 3% of the population in India actually pays income tax.
That is an amazing statistic.
Right?
The other big headlines over the past couple of weeks has been the inflation, and most notably the rupee, and what the government is doing to kind of defend the currency. What a lot of people don't realize is there are a lot of imports, obviously, for India, and when the foreign currency fluctuates, it affects what people can buy or how much they can buy. The central bank has been raising rates. A lot of people say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't a good thing because that's only going to slow the economy more. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the important thing is that the Indian government is taking steps to stem the depreciation of the rupee. And there's a lot of internal battles that India is fighting right now. This government needs to take the difficult steps of addressing subsidies, combating corruption, and then maintaining strong ties with the United States that will facilitate trade. I think these are all important steps. We are in an election cycle, so I'm not the most optimistic that the government will be able to take the difficult steps necessary to get the economy back on track. But I do think that it has to take these steps, otherwise we will see India's economy fall further.
One more question that doesn't relate to the economy, but it relates to some of the awful headlines that we've seen regarding women and some of the sexual crimes that you've seen it come across these headlines. And it's an unfortunate situation. They've created big headlines, but I imagine there's a bigger story beneath all of that. Does the government want to do more? And I think the answer is yes, but I guess what will they do from this point going forward to help alleviate that crime? Because it does affect how people view India.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think that the women's empowerment needs to run from the community level up to the federal level. It needs to permeate all the laws, but it starts at home, and it starts with education in schools for young children, teaching them about breaking past gender roles and equality, gender equality. I think it needs to start at a much more micro level, because we know that the laws can be on the books, but if they're not implemented, we're not going to see the kind of change for women's empowerment that we would like to see.
So it's not more laws that are needed, you need to enforce the current laws. I want to try to end this on something positive.
Yes.
Millions have been lifted out of poverty. Millions more need to be lifted out of poverty. And to the people that you speak to in India, is there a sense from young people that the opportunities that we always talk about, are they still there for them? Or does the government need to do more to ensure that those opportunities remain available to them?
I think that the young people in India are optimistic about their future, perhaps more so than in the past. But the government has to do more to realize the potential of India's young people. India has a demographic advantage. We have a young population in India.
I think the biggest in the world, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, that's right. And we need to do more to make sure that we realize the aspirations of India's young people so we can get the economy back on track, create jobs, and show these young people a brighter future.
Sabina Dewan, I want to thank you for coming in today and spending some time with us from the Center of American Progress. Thank you very much. We'll talk about this much more.